Greetings and hello everyone. Welcome to my channel. I'm Sonobat. So today we are going to be looking at countable and uncountable nouns. But before that, how do we know if a noun is countable or uncountable? So the example for countable here is banana. So when we are talking about plural form for countable noun banana, we put s at the back of the noun. So when we are indicating that there are more than one banana, we put the letter s into bananas, meaning to say it is in plural form and it is more than one. Meanwhile, for uncountable noun, for example, water, there are no such thing as one water, two waters. So the only way that we can indicate or we can make it countable is by putting the collective noun in front of the noun water. For example, a glass of water. Next, we shall look at the quantifiers in countable and uncountable nouns. So quantifiers are words that we use to indicate the quantity of a noun without being specific. For example, the word much, many, some are some example of quantifiers. So for uncountable nouns, we use the quantifiers much and we use the auxiliary verb is for uncountable. Meanwhile, for countable nouns, the quantifiers that we are going to use is many, and the auxiliary verb that we use are. So that is the difference in terms of quantifiers for uncountable and countable nouns. Meanwhile, for the negative statement, this one is negative statement, there isn't much pasta. Again, the verb should be in singular form, isn't. And again, the quantifiers that we use is much. On the other hand, for the countable quantifiers that we use is many, and the verb we use aren't, because we can count vegetable. So when we can count vegetable, or when the noun is countable, we use the auxiliary verb are. And when the noun is uncountable, we use auxiliary verb is. Okay, now you can see the difference in terms of the auxiliary verb. However, for the quantifier some, both countable and uncountable use them similarly, except for the auxiliary verb. For uncountable, again the auxiliary verb is, and for the countable noun, the auxiliary verb we use are. That is the only differences between uncountable and countable nouns in terms of the quantifiers some. Okay. Now, last but not least, for the quantifiers any, okay, any, for the quantifiers any, there isn't any pasta. Again, both uncountable and countable nouns use them similarly, except the verb, which is the auxiliary verb. This one, the uncountable, uses is, which is indicating that it is singular, and for the countable we use are. Okay, that is the differences in terms of quantifiers for countable and uncountable nouns. Next, let us do several exercises to assess your understanding. So look at the pictures and complete the sentences. So for the uncountable section, first we need to separate between uncountable and countable answers. So meat, is it countable or uncountable? So meat falls under uncountable section, so we just write meat there. Crisps is indeed countable noun, so crisps. Rice, we cannot count rice, so it is uncountable noun. Vegetables, again we can count vegetables, so it is countable. And cheese, we cannot count cheese, so it is uncountable noun. Lastly, pears. Pears, we can indeed count them, so it falls under countable nouns. So now we have managed to organize between uncountable nouns and countable nouns. Okay, in terms of the answer option. Now we shall put them in the section. So for number 1, there's a lot of pasta. There's some rice. Okay, there isn't much. What is the thing that you cannot see much from the first picture here? There isn't much cheese, so we put there cheese. And lastly, there isn't any meat. Okay, now we have completed the uncountable section. Now we shall proceed to the countable section. There are a lot of vegetables. Okay, there are some pears. As we can see from the picture, there aren't many grapes, and lastly there aren't any crisps. Okay, and we have completed the exercise 2 on the English +1 textbook, page 55. Now let us recall the rules. So look at the sentences in exercise 2 and choose the correct words in rules 1 to 3. So for number 1, we use much or many with uncountable nouns. Again, when we are addressing uncountable nouns, we use much. For number 2, we use much or many with countable nouns. Again, it is very obvious, we use many with countable nouns. For the third statement, we often use any, much, and many in questions and negative statement. So we cannot say they are much pasta. No, we cannot say like that. We can only use the word much in negative statement. Okay, for example, there isn't much pasta. Okay, so we cannot say there is much pasta. It is not possible. So we can only use much in negative statement. And lastly, we use some any, and a lot of with countable and uncountable nouns. Okay, that is all from me. Thank you for your attention, and I'll see you in my next video.